I wanted to do a follow-up video to my recent video that I did about Tom King because there were some developments since I had did a little response to him calling out. And for those that aren't knowledgeable on it, let me break it down. Jay Lee, who is a Korean American artist who had, he's done a lot of artwork covers for mainstream comics, but he's also done a cover for Ethan Van Sciver and a Cyberfrog. And you know that mainstream comics definitely, as the success happens for a lot of more independent creators with the crowdfunding, EVS has made $1 million, right? Doing this, right? So a lot of mainstream comic books have to acknowledge it as a threat, and they can't really compete with it. It's too much different kind of logistics that are involved with mainstream comics. So at best, all they can do is what they've been doing. Claim that the other group is something despicable. Participate in childish middle school tactics. Lying, gossiping. That's what they have to do in order to try to get those guys out of existence. And Tom King, who is doing another run of this little mini series with, I think it's with Rorschach for DC. I think it's under Black Label, though. I think it's Black Label. I could be wrong on that. But nonetheless, he is doing a cover. Or not cover, he's writing that. And an alternate cover Jay Lee did. And so he posts about it all on Twitter, and he's like, yeah, I don't have anything to do with this decision. Jay Lee did this cover for Comicsgate, a hate group, and that's what he called them, a hate group. And it's like, it was such a childish, cowardly thing for him to do, but you know what he was doing. And I'm not going to let him off the hook. I don't think anybody should let him off the hook for what he did. And I want to explain some of the developments. That was the backstory of what happened initially. So he calls out, he basically wants to disassociate himself with Jay Lee, says this other cover is the cover. That other cover, he won't even acknowledge it as far as he's concerned, because Jay Lee has done a cover for Comicsgate. That's what he says, even though all he did was a cover for Cyberfrog, from my knowledge. Now, this is what he had to say about it afterwards. So some developments happen. And then he says, after that original tweet, which I believe he's taking him down, he says that he talked with Jay Lee and everything was all good. He's not part of a hate group, yada, yada. But that's not where it ends. Okay? So let's go here. And this is what Tom King himself had said. And this is on Twitter. He posted this. He says, as I've done privately, I'd like to publicly apologize to Jay Lee for my actions a few days ago. Okay? I should have talked with Jay before I sent a tweet about him that put his career at risk. Now, him saying that is huge because we know that that's their attempt. Okay? Let's be honest with it. We know that that's the attempt. They want your job. They want to come for your jobs. They want to come for your sponsors. They want to come for your livelihoods. And it's not just the Tom Kings of the world that participate in it. This is the whole nature of the council culture thing. That's what they ultimately want. Now he's admitting it. He wants to put that of it. I want to associate him with a hate group, though that's not what Comicsgate is. That's what they'll say. And even then, it's a cover. You can work with whoever you want. You have every right to do that. There's nothing wrong with him doing a cover for Comicsgate, obviously. But for them to find it so much of a threat, Ethan Van Scivers of the world, that they want to label them dishonestly. So yeah, such a hate group, right? Give this Korean American man, a cover of such a hate group. Nonetheless, let's continue real quick. He said he made a critical mistake. He's profoundly sorry. I will do what I can to repair this with Jay, and I will do better in the future. Doubt it. I'm not going to offer explanations because they sound like excuses. Well, you acknowledge that. And I'm not asking for forgiveness or understanding. I'm just saying I see what I did and I'm going to try to make up for it. Thank you. I have kept up the tweets up to this point in order to show that I was not hiding my actions, and I will now take them down. So he took some of the old tweets down that were aimed at Jay Lee. Now, Tom King is a sucker for what he did, okay? What he did was like he's not oblivious to what the ramifications are. He's not. They know. The other types that they know, that's what they want to do. They don't like the fact that these people are making money. So what's the best thing that they can do? Associate them in a despicable like form, rather. Say that they are something bad. Deem them as something bad. And then you can take away their economics, their livelihoods. That's what they ultimately want. And they admit that. They're pretty open about it. This is why they participate in the council culture thing. And this is why I do appreciate how he responded. Now, Jay Lee does not have a Twitter. And I hope he knows, like, there's no way that I would get that. It is an absolute crap fest. 100%. It's an absolute crap fest. Now, this is what he said in a recent post. This was 4 days ago. He said that, in short, his dog, which just looks like he was a little Boston Terrier. This is what Cammy is mixed with, and died from complications from surgery. And they were him and his wife, or his partner, June Lee, were handling that. Right, they were dealing with that. Instead of, and then he says, instead, a part of the internet I avoid, like the plague, came barging in. I had companies I'm working for calling me, friends reaching out to me. I'm seeing hate pouring out of strangers' mouth, accusing me of things I have no knowledge of. And it's funny because these would be the same people who would claim someone else is like evil, right? Someone else is like, again, a hate group, that they harass people, things of that nature. These are the same types that do this, right? And that's the behavior that they participate in. So at best, it's a projection. They want allegiance, and if they don't have yours, they will absolutely tear you down. So bet. And this is, of course, what was going to happen. You know, that's how they could cover responses, cover people working with you. Oh, you're in a hate group. What is this about? What is that about? It's like no man, definitely after his dog is passed, wants to be dealing with that crap, man. And he says, I'm seeing firsthand how fast lies are spreading. Let me be clear, I'm not part of any group. He says, we never made it to the beach, so that was what they was going to do. Obviously, this kind of derailed everything. He says he's writing this because he's angry. I'm glad he's being upfront with what this is. He says, I'm writing this because I'm angry. These irresponsible tweets are not harmless, because they are not. He says they do not just go away. They have real world consequences. They can take away your job, your life, your memories. June and I were robbed of a special day, so no, we're not all good. He's specifically responding to Tom King when Tom King had said that. And he was like, he spoke with him. He supposedly spoke with Jay Lee, and he was like, yeah, he's not part of hate group. It's all good. And no, it's not all good. Do you not understand? Like I say, it's like the ramifications of what it is that they do. They want to put on a front as if they aren't even knowledgeable on that type of stuff. You know what you're doing. And of course, it's not enough. What have I not been dealing with the same thing with these weirdos claiming I'm associated with groups claiming I'm like so entryism or whatever they said. And this, we had a 2 week debate, 2 weeks worth of debates talking about that. Same thing. People will associate this, like tie you to these egregious things, say egregious things about you. And then it's like, yeah, well, it's all good. I didn't know. Like, no, it's not all good. And that's why I told, and you can go look, I encourage you guys to look at that video, because it's probably something that you can learn from it. Because it's the same thing that applies to this situation. Where I was talking to those two guys, and that was the end of the debate. And I was basically telling them my thoughts about what it is that they participate in. And they need to understand that they're messing with people's lives, man. You screwing with people's lives We know that you screwing with people's lives. You know that you're screwing with people's lives, but you think it's funny. You think it's a game, and you think it's just nothing. This is serious stuff that y'all do when y'all, and it's one thing if you were doing it to be honest. If you were just honest with the situation, that's one thing. But more often than not, they're never honest. They're always lying. This is why they have to say, well, you're tied to this person that's tied to this person, or this person that you like, or you liked, said this. And it's like they have to tie you to these very, very objectively bad things. And it's like, how much not like, am I tied to? Hey, no, of course I'm not. Why would you even insinuate? But that's what they have to do. They have to tie you to these bad things. They have to tie you to these bad things. If they didn't tie you to those bad things, they'd have nothing. And he said, this isn't the start of a conversation. This is the end. So please don't drag me into a world I never wanted to be a part of, nor will I ever want to be a part of. I want to honor Loki by going back to producing art made with love for people who enjoy it for what it is, something that hopefully brings joy into their lives. Like I said, man, like it's one of those things where mainstream comic books, and you've seen all these stories leaking of them trying to coordinate it. Look, these types want to keep everybody out of the industry that does not pledge allegiance. We recognize that there's an issue. We criticize the issue. They can't address the criticism. If they disagree, fine. Let's disagree. We can disagree all day long, man. That's fine. But when you don't have an argument, and the best thing that you can come up with is, okay, I'm going to tie you to the worst possible thing that I possibly can. I'm going to say you're a bad person. I'm going to tie you to ugly groups. I'm going to come for your sponsors. In doing so, come to you for your bottom line and come for your livelihood. And then they just laugh it off like it's nothing. Yep, it's cool. Well, it's a hate group. We as arbitrary as it might be, we just declared you guys bad people, and now we have our followers, we have the industry on our side claiming that you're bad people, and we're gonna do what we can to lock you out. And that ain't good enough, really. Locking you out ain't good enough, right? Not locking you out of mainstream comics, that ain't good enough. We want people to understand that you are what they would deem as a bad person tied to bad people, and therefore. We got to come for your livelihoods and all the people that you maybe work with. Wait, we got to it's almost coercion, right? It's like, do you really want to be tied to this hate group? And of course, those groups are bending the one less maybe revenue. Like, this is the type of bull crap that they participate in, especially when they find you a threat. If you have a following, you definitely, I can understand why they feel Comicsgate is a threat, because Comicsgate exists in the same industry as them. It went from this sort of thing that was just really critical of the direction and some of the decisions being made. And then it moved on to, okay, we're just going to create our own stuff. And so those guys have not only created their own books, they've seen a lot of success doing it and made a lot of money. And I'm sure a lot of these artists have made more money. Some of them even previously working for DC and Marvel, and they've made a killing. They've made an absolute killing, probably more than what they've ever made writing for Marvel or DC. I know for sure EVS has. So that's the thing, and I would hope that people would realize how ugly that is and how bad a situation that is. And I'm glad Jay Lee didn't he didn't shy away from it at all. Jay Lee was just like, look, this is not right. It's not, because it's not. And I'm glad he's digging in on that. Like, regardless of what you're saying, it's not all good. It's not okay. This doesn't just go away tomorrow. A lot of damage has already been done. This is not right. And Tom King he represents all of what is bad about that. all what is wrong with current comic book culture when it comes to their creators with mainstream. And I said the pendulum is going to swing back the other way at some point. It may get worse before it gets better, but they can't keep this up. Because what's going to happen is, and maybe that's what, I don't know what Tom King, I don't know if he has any dirt on himself, but what happens, they'll start making their rounds, and next thing you know, they come for you. It's a silly thing. And at minimum, I would hope that you can at least be honest in your criticism about you don't have to lie, And definitely with something like that, when someone's tied to your book, if you have some issues, Tom King, you didn't have to post that. It'd be one thing if Jay Lee just neglected to speak to you, but it's almost like that was your reaction, right? Okay, I'm going to put him on blast, and I'm going to have my followers. I'm going to have people that are looking at this because he has all this clout now, Tom King, even though he's not a good writer, not the best. Let's say that. They're going to have all of these people coming for Jay Lee now, and that's what he wanted. That was the whole point of the post. He semi-acknowledges that by saying he's putting other people's life at risk. He knew what he was doing. They know what they're doing. The only thing that they depend upon is you not being able to fight back and you just bending the knee because you prove them right if you do. Right? That's what they depend on. This is why I hope more people don't bend the knee. You don't. Just tell them to go screw themselves. Tell them that they're wrong because they are the ones that are wrong. But yeah, man, we'll see how this develops. Tom King is a sucker for what he did. That doesn't change. But it's not just him. If you look at the old post, I don't think it's up anymore. But you look at the comics, some other people, look at what they foster. And this is to be the main ones that want to go out there and tell people that they part of hate groups. They're tied to bad people, harassing people. These are the same types. And like I say, it must be a projection because they're doing everything that they claim other people do to them. It's a lot. It's complete nonsense. Nonetheless, it seems to be one-sided though when we talk about coming for people's jobs and livelihoods, coming for that's all something else. And if Tom King really wanted those problems to be addressed, he could have just reached out to DC, his contact at DC. Hey, get me in contact with Jay. I want to talk to him. I want to make sure this is all good. But that ain't what he did. He neglected to do all of that. Instead, what he did was just say, you know what? I'm going to put him on blast. Ramifications will be the ramifications. It's not all good. I'm glad Jay Lee acknowledged that.